Hello, I'm Donal Macaulay and welcome to this Medics Voices conversation. Today I'm talking to Anna Stavdal in Norway. Now, Anna, we know you very much from your very high profile in WONCA, but I want to take it back to the beginning because you didn't start off in medicine. Tell us about that journey.
That's right. I was raised by parents with a broad academic scope. My father was a sociologist, actually the first sociologist in Norway. So I thought I was bound to follow that path. So I started out studying sociology. I also had an idea that I could change to psychology and also combine the two. However, the subject became a little bit too close because of family reasons. And I wanted to do something which didn't have to do with my upbringing and also to challenge myself. I mean, science in the more narrow sense was not my main field. So I thought, okay, let's try that. Also because it would give me a broader opportunities for in the job market. And I knew I wanted to work with people. So that was more or less how it started.
And then your journey into family medicine.
Mm. It's natural for me then to actually um, say a few words about a person who meant a lot for that choice. He died 100 years ago last week. So we are not mourning, we are celebrating his life and what he contributed with. He was the first professor of general practice or family medicine in Norway, and meant a lot to raise the profile of the discipline in Norway. And he introduced longitudinal students group from first year. So we were invited to join groups with mentors coming out of his department, which was very small. It was not something that would have been considered to a department even these days. So we were followed through all the 6 years at university, not especially under the heading of family medicine or general practice, but discussing topics we were not taught at medical school related to ethics, to dilemmas, first of all. And with my background from sociology and my upbringing, I must say, always to look at context. It sounds a little bit like politically correct to say that, but it's actually ingrained, so to say, in my DNA. So family medicine was a natural choice.
And then you went into practice in Oslo. Tell us a
Mm.
little bit about general practice in Norway.
We have long traditions for primary care. If you look at the map, this long country, I mean, for people to live up north, for example, but also in remote areas down south, we need doctors, and there have been doctors. I think we have traditions with we could call district medical officers for more than 200 years in Norway. However, the discipline, like in most other countries, has not been recognized as sort of independent or discipline in its own right. That started, like in most other Western countries where family medicine has a status, in the 70s. It was more formalized. We used to also, due to geography and traditions, family doctors or general practitioners used to outside the big cities to the extent we have big cities in Norway, but outside the cities. The GP was also the public health officer in the community, in the municipality. So we call that a combo doctor, more or less, exactly the words we used in Norwegian. This existed, well, it gradually changed. And from 2001, to make the story short, we introduced the list system. By law, every citizen in Norway is entitled to be enlisted with a qualified family doctor. So that has now existed for almost 25 years. So it was formalized, and that brings me into what I usually do when I promote family medicine. And I say there are two principles which are important, and those were put in legislation 25 years ago in Norway. That is the personal, continuous relationship with the patient. That is, first of all, the marker of the GP. So after the introduction of the list system, we had, again, a predictable wave, positive wave, and then Norway is, of course, also subject to general trends. Why a discipline like family medicine also is struggling, and primary care is struggling. But I would say, compared to most countries I have visited, including UK for the present, and also Western countries, but a lot of countries throughout the world, we have a very good primary care-based health system.
Now, let me ask you about something different, because
Mhm.
you transitioned into a leadership role. What was the driving force for you to do that?
I think I've always been a leader. If I taught folk dance, or if I mean, it came natural for me to take leadership, and the motivation to go into the organized family medicine, starting on the Norwegian level, was also motivated by a need to contribute to a higher standard of reflection among my colleagues related to the role we have. Because that is also the case in Norway, the way we are organized, GPs. The college is organized within the medical association, which it was a huge battle when I was chair of the Norwegian College, again, close to 25 years ago, because I argued that we should be outside the medical association, because it is extremely important to have clear voices. When are we speaking physicians' conditions, working conditions, and when are we speaking content? And we should do that in the right succession. First, we do give our advice. This is good medicine. Then we discuss the price. This is, like many places in the world, it's mixed up. That is, the cost is our reputation. Because people, journalists, bureaucrats, politicians, they're not always sure about who am I talking to now. Is it the highly professional person who gives their advice, or is this part of a negotiation coming up next month? Okay, money, the money side. So that was one. So I wanted to refine the professional voice And I also wanted to raise awareness, again, back to the context and the societal context, because family doctors are working, so we're part of the community. We're part of first line. We're not only service delivery or providers. We are part of the community, and we need to understand how things work in the community to play a good role and also to utilize the potential of the role in a good way. So maybe also because I think it's fun. It's fun to say, no, let's look. Can we see, can we do this differently? Can we, and often my solution will be, can we simplify? Because we tend to dig new turfs when we're not satisfied with what's existing. So instead of building new turfs and make things more complex, as we do in healthcare all the time now, simplify. What are the basic needs here, and what's our mandate in it? The fourth thing related, when I grew up as a doctor, the mixing of interests between commercial actors and doctors, not least the pharmaceutical industry, was one of the big issues I was working on. And actually we managed in my time to get the strictest set of rules for collaboration between pharmaceutical industry and doctors in general in Norway. And I'm proud of that.
Now, while you were taking these leadership roles, you were bringing up a young family. Indeed, they were very, very young. That was a huge challenge. Tell me about the challenges facing women in leadership.
Yeah, that's a big one. I was fortunate. I would say we have. I'm still married to my children's father, and we have a balanced and equal relationship. We are not too alike each other, and he also had a working situation, which made it possible for him to be at home when I was away. I don't know. You must ask my children about that, if it was an advantage or not. But I choose to see it as an advantage. I think they were very seldom in care of other people. One of us was there almost always. The gender issue is a big one, and of course. Gender counts. Simple as that. It counts. Sometimes maybe it has been an advantage. I don't know. Women often say that when they are asked that question. And I always wonder, do you say this just to sweeten the pill, so to say? Because in the medical community, and my age, born in 59, I'm in between, or at least after a very big defining generation. They invented family medicine. And in a way, I had a very strong power of definition. And I was not always impressed, because I think they were that with for good and bad, the 68 generation of 68, a lot of good things coming with that. But also a sort of, and that is maybe strange, speaking about with the leader who has led organizations of certain sizes as well. I can be a little bit afraid of groups, of big groups. The massive energy in a group. Okay, the group has a power definition. The majority has a power definition. and that is maybe one of the things which has made me succeed when I have succeeded, but also something which has not been always welcomed, especially coming from a woman. And that is that I ask, well, I'm not sure if this is true, even if it is defined by you or by the majority or the Old Buddies Network. And that's a fact.
Now, you did something else which was quite unusual, and I'm sure created some ripples in the medical profession. And that is you wrote a long-term column in a medical newspaper.
Mm.
Tell
Mm.
us about that.
Yeah, that was when the list system was introduced, and the biggest tabloid in Norway. It's read by people, common people, and they invited me to be the GP of that paper with a weekly column. And I thought, wow, I always liked to write, but this was special and also really given a stage. So I wrote for 7 years. I wrote weekly columns, and I chose the topics myself, and I was hardly edited. I mean, in not on content, sometimes on newspaper professional, things. That was extremely rewarding for many reasons. Because the format of a column is short, right? And you should, okay, the point has to be made to start with. This is what I'm going to say something about, and then elaborating a little bit on, and then closing it. So it's not too provocative. But I raised the topics. I also, because I was in practice all the time, so I had daily input. What's happening out there, and that is actually what I felt has given me legitimacy in all the work I've done outside practice, is that I have stuck to practice. But it was very rewarding, and almost each week I had my husband read the column because before I submitted it. He's not a doctor, and he has quite a good sense of Norwegian grammar and punctuation, just to have that. So I was fortunate, but first of all to review the content, and is this understandable? Does the message come extremely? And I think it has also helped me when I'm then switching to a foreign language, and sometimes giving short, well, that's part of the job, right? To give short messages in another language. It's very good to have that vocational training, so to say, in writing.
It's fascinating to hear the background to the story of your life. But how do you get the balance? What do you do for relaxation?
Mm. That's something I'm reflecting a lot of now, because I'm in a transition. Also, I have reduced practice. I have a younger colleague. I shared my list with her, and of course also stepping down from very hectic international activities. I am. I'm actually, this sounds very doctorish and very healthy and very clever, but I do physical exercise every day. I think I can count on two hands the days during the year I don't do at least half an hour physical exercise. It's mandatory for me. And I also when I have time, and that is something I can indulge in now, reading, theater, cinemas, but also making sure that I have some time, even if it's just a few hours. But I'm not saying it's easy. And I think also at least after the last, now it's 6 years, yesterday, since I was elected WONCA World President-elect. And the last 6 years has been, in one sense, a bit too much related to work-life balance. But it's been worth it. I have to say that, but I really mean it as well.
Anna, thank you very much. It's been an absolute pleasure listening to you, and thank you very much for your huge contribution to our profession on a local, Norwegian, and on a world level. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much for having me.